There's something really different this year about the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16 Pro. And no, I'm not talking about the design or new camera features or new colors or anything like that, or, a new design. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay all the new things that Apple has added to the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16 Pro. I actually think there's some meaningful updates here that are kind of exciting. But I just mean in the way that Apple is updating these phones and the way they're marketing them. This is truly the first year where I have felt, even though we've had years with very little updates in the past, this is the first year I've ever felt such a shift in how Apple is not only marketing these phones, but how they're planning to add features in the future. And I feel like it's a little weird. It's a little strange sitting here right now looking at all the features that Apple announced today because, to be honest, there were a lot of them, but they're just so far down the road and not on the iPhones when they're shipping that I kind of feel like it's almost like a bait and switch. And I really want to talk about that in today's video. But first, let me address what they kind of did change, like what the physical changes are on this year's iPhone models. It has that new vertical camera design. It has some really nice new colors, which I don't think the leaks did justice. I really like the new blue color. The teal looks really nice. The pink. They definitely cooked this year on the colors. I think they got the colors right. I think all of them look good. The white and black models look kind of similar to last year, but yeah, the new colors look good. And yeah, you got the A18 chip in the iPhone 16. This isn't like getting, like last year's A17 Pro chip like they did on the iPhone 15. You're actually getting an A18 chip. It's super powerful. It's super energy efficient. Apple is increasing battery life across the entire iPhone lineup this year. That's how efficient these new A18 chips are. So that's all good news there. But you look at the design and it's pretty much the same as the iPhone 15 from last year. It still comes in a 6.1 inch size, a 6.7 inch size, still has the dynamic island like it did. There are some subtle changes though, right? It does get the action button. So I guess this is officially the death of the mute switch on the iPhone. And then also the big change here is the new capture button, which I thought looked way better than any of the leaks kind of detailed here. So it is a capacitive button. So there's some things you can do with that. Number one, when you press it, it opens up the camera app. I think we were all expecting that kind of functionality. But then there's you can do like a soft press to like launch like this menu. And there's so many different things that you can have when you go into this menu. So you can light press it to open the zoom controls, and I love the animation that pops up here whenever you activate the capture button. This is so Apple. The design, the attention to detail here is crazy good. And then with a double press of this button, you can actually select another camera setting and then slide to that. So if you wanted to get to your depth controls, your exposure controls, or something like that, you can actually quickly get to these controls just on that capture button without going into any other menus on the touchscreen on your iPhone. You can all control that right there on that capacitive capture button. So it's kind of giving you all of these camera controls right at your fingertips on that button. And I just thought that was really cool. Again, it looks really cool in practice. I don't know if it's going to be an action button situation where I think it looks cool. I see a lot of utility in it. And then at the end of the day, I don't end up using it. I really don't know. But first glances, without having touched this thing, I think the capture button looks really cool. We use our iPhones for, so much photo and video taking nowadays. It's one of the main reasons why people upgrade to these phones, which is gonna be pretty evident as we talk about this more. So I think that is a really cool feature. And yeah, again, cameras are the main reason why a lot of people upgrade their iPhone every year or every 2 years or every few years, right? You want that new camera system. And, there's some nice updates to the iPhone 16's camera system. So now you can get the ultra wide angle lens and have that macro photography mode that used to be exclusive to the Pro models. You now can shoot spatial video if you own an Apple Vision Pro. I don't know if you're buying the normal iPhone model. If you own an Apple Vision Pro, I feel like that's a very small market segment. I feel like people who have money to waste on a Vision Pro probably have an iPhone Pro model, but whatever, right? Like this is preparing them for the future where if Apple Vision Pro takes off, if they come out with cheaper models, you might have some spatial video that you can now view on your Vision Pro. And you know, you still have a great 48 megapixel camera system. All that stuff's there, right? And that's basically to say that in terms of like an iPhone update, at least on like the mainline features here, it's really not that big. And I can kind of say the same for the Pro models, although there is a bit more here. So number one, on the Pro models, they are getting larger. The normal size is moving up from 6.1 to 6.3 inches. The Max model is moving up from 6.7 to 6.9 inches. So big phones this year. I'm still kind of conflicted on which model I should go for, because one of the things that I thought was a really good feature for the 16 Pro is the battery life on these things. Apple really is making strides here with that A18 Pro chip on the iPhone 16 Pro, being much more energy efficient, and the Pro Max gets like a ridiculous amount of battery life. But even the smaller size Pro gets an upgrade, but it's still not as much battery life as a 15 Pro Max. And as someone whose battery health has degraded on their 15 Pro Max, I'm only thinking about battery here with the size, and I'm just going, I feel like I want the biggest battery possible, because every year by the you know, the time you get to like August and September, your battery life is so weak, especially if you're running beta. So I feel like I need every little bit of battery I can get, because I'm constantly using my iPhone. And yeah, so I might be leaning towards Pro Max, even though I said it's way too big, but we'll see. You got new Desert Titanium as an option for the color choice on the 16 Pro. I think it looks okay. I'm kind of leaning towards getting it just because it's the new color, but you still have the black color, you still have natural titanium, and you still have a white titanium option. And then that capture button, all the things we talked about with the 16, that's also coming to the 16 Pro. And again, the big updates here with the 16 Pro really revolve around the camera system. So the ultra wide angle camera on this is a much bigger upgrade. It's now getting a new 48 megapixel sensor. So you're gonna get a lot more detail in your ultra wide angle shots, and especially for macro photography, I think that's gonna lead to some really nice detailed shots. And then that 5X lens that was exclusive to the Pro Max last year, well, that now comes down to the smaller regular size model. There's also a really big video upgrade this year, and that is that you can shoot 4K at 120 frames per second. And this will be for slow motion shots. Previously, to get like slow motion footage on your iPhone, it would be in 1080p. It always looked a little soft to me. I never really utilized it, but now with the 16 Pro, you can now get that in 4K. So again, that's a pretty big upgrade when you're looking at that in terms of video use. And then the microphones, I actually think, you know, this was one of the things I was like in watching the presentation, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually getting excited for a microphone upgrade. Apple says these are studio quality microphones. We've seen them use that same language a bunch of times for like the microphones in the MacBook Pro or like the iPad Pro. And, you know, when they updated those products with studio quality microphones, they actually sound really good. And I'm someone that uses my iPhone's microphone all the time, obviously talking to people, but also recording voice memos, recording short little things, recording voiceover sometimes for short form content. So the fact that they're getting a big upgrade on the iPhone 16 Pro as a content creator, I actually find that really exciting, and I'm glad that's coming. That's something I'm really looking forward to, honestly. So 16 Pro for me might be just like, hey, a good microphone where I can record audio on the go. That's not a bad thing for me, as someone who makes YouTube videos, right? And then I mentioned this briefly before, it does come with an A18 Pro chip over the A18. From what I can see on the specs pages, looks like you're getting one more GPU core on the A18 Pro. So if you're into gaming, there's a lot of AAA level games coming to iPhone now. Well, not a lot, but a few. So if you're into that, the 16 Pro might be worth the upgrade in that regard too. Another thing I should mention is the price stayed the same. I was saying that there were some rumors saying there's gonna be like a 256 gigabyte base configuration. I was worried the price was gonna go up $100. Nope, Apple still has the 128 gigabyte model there. So the 16 Pro still starts at $999. The Pro Max does start at 256 gigabytes still. So it's still $1,200 for that base model. But yeah, so you can see here, there's some good upgrades here, mostly revolved around the camera system on the Pro. And, you know, if you're a Pro user, it's kind of like that's where you're leaning towards, is really on those camera upgrades, or if you just want the biggest iPhone possible. But yeah, when you look at the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16 Pro, I gotta be honest, the feature upgrades here kind of seem like an S year, if we're going back to like traditional Apple terminology, except for one thing. And it all has to do with the software that is enabled on the A18 and the A18 Pro chip with Apple Intelligence. I was shocked how much Apple focused on AI Apple Intelligence features during this entire presentation. Like, if Apple was only going over the hardware upgrades they put onto these phones, this presentation would have been like an hour shorter. They really focused so much on what Apple Intelligence can do. Going back to like the original part of that iPhone 16 presentation, they even spent a lot of time, and this wasn't even rumored, talking about how the capture button would be a really quick way to open the camera app to gain access to a new Apple Intelligence feature on the camera where you can kind of like point it at a poster, and then if it sees a date, it can add it to your calendar. Or if you're walking and you see a dog you don't recognize, you can point at the dog and go, what dog breed is that? If you've ever used Google Lens, it's very similar to that, but this time it's Apple's version and it's using Apple Intelligence. So even with that new hardware capture button, they are tying that to a new AI feature. And then they went over so many of the Apple Intelligence features they already went over when they showed off iOS 18 at WWDC. They showed off how you could make generative emoji. They showed off how you can make generative images. They showed the writing tool so you can clean up your writing. They showed off the smarter Siri, right? They went through all these Apple Intelligence features that they already showed to us at WWDC. And I was so shocked how long they spent presenting this. Now I get it. These are really the first mainstream phones with Apple Intelligence. If you had a 15 Pro, you can use it, but if you had the regular 15, you can't. And these are all really tied to that A18 chip. And yeah, so these are really kind of like exclusive features for these new iPhones. But I thought it was strange in a way how much they were focusing on artificial intelligence at this event, because a lot of the features they showed off, or really all of the features that involved Apple Intelligence that they showed off at this event, will not be available on September 20th when you go to pick up your new iPhone 16 or your new iPhone 16 Pro. And in fact, a lot of these features are just going to be available in a beta, and a beta coming out like a month after these new iPhones launch. And then there's some rumors even saying that some of the really cool like AI features, like generating like an emoji or something like that, aren't even coming until maybe like next year. Or really, we don't know the roadmap of when exactly specific Apple Intelligence features are going to be added to the iPhone 16. And I kind of find that a little concerning in a way. Don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of iPhones in the past where they showed off like a cool software feature that didn't ship on day one and it came in a future software update. Apple's no stranger to doing that. But the level and the amount of features that they showed off at this presentation to normal customers watching this event who might expect to get these features very soon aren't there. And they spent so many time going over so many of these new Apple Intelligence features. I mean, just go on Apple's website, go to the iPhone 16 and start scrolling. Look at how many of the highlighted features are Apple Intelligence features that are not going to be there on a launch iPhone model. It's a lot. A lot of what makes the iPhone 16 new is all tied up in these new software features. And again, a lot of these software features do look helpful. These are features I want to use, but the fact that you won't be able to use them day one is so strange to me. The fact that zero, it's not even like, oh, some of the more advanced features, they're the ones that are coming later. There are zero Apple Intelligence features, not even the smarter Siri. Zero Apple Intelligence features launching day one on a new iPhone 16. And that is just a different way that Apple is doing this. I don't know if they really just feel like they're behind in artificial intelligence, that they really needed to push to show all these features out and then make the concession that they'll ship them later. But it just feels like a monumental change in how Apple is marketing these iPhones. Because, it always felt like when Apple shipped a phone, it felt more complete in the feature set on day one than what we're seeing with these new iPhone 16s. And I just gotta be honest, it is a little strange to me how much they highlighted these features that, again, will not be there on day one. So that is my raw take on the new iPhone 16, iPhone 16 Pro. I think they look like good phones. I think they look like reasonable updates if you're on an older iPhone model. But I just gotta caution everyone, if you were excited for those new Apple Intelligence features, just be prepared that who knows how long you'll have to wait to see the feature that you're excited for to get onto your iPhone. Who knows how long that will take? I'm not even sure if Apple does. But all right, that is my first video for the Apple event. Little different one here, right? If you liked it, please give me a like. If you agree with me, hey, make sure you're subscribed. And we got a lot of content planned for Apple coverage this whole week, all of next week, all of the week after. It's gonna be a busy September and October. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one, I hope. Unless I'm Apple Intelligence, and maybe I'll see you a month later.